subsection 6. Mr. President, I recall that because the National Identity Management Commission, Mr. President, is a very, very important commission which is charged with the management of the identity of every citizen of this country. Allowing a commission with these enormous responsibilities to be run internally by just one person who is on a permanent basis is going to be inimical to the interests of the majority of the people of this country, because we are giving sole administratorship status to whoever is there on a permanent basis. So I want to still make my observation here, sir, that the recommendation of having the commissioners to represent geopolitical zones is still important, but in this amendment, for whatever reason, they made the commissioners part-time, which negates the corporate identity of this nation and the need for us to involve all sections of this country on a permanent basis in the running and the corporate identity of a commission of this nature. Mr. President, I make this observation without any prejudice to the legal minds who made this amendment. But I thought that the appointment of these commissioners should be resident and permanent in the commission to work with whoever is the Director General, and all of them should be appointed by Mr. President. And they should represent the corporate interests of the different sections of this country on a permanent basis in this commission. So to render them like say on part-time basis, I think we are doing a lot of disservice to the people who constitute the people of this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just make an explanation. That was what we initially passed and sent to Mr. President, but it was later sent to the Office of the Attorney General, and they realized that already executive directors and coordinators are appointed from all the geopolitical zones, and they also have offices in the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja. And the people running those offices are on permanent secretary status. And so they will need to have a coordinating board that will meet intermittently to assess what they are doing. Right now, they are even dovetailing into local governments and wards. So quite unlike the other agencies like the National Population Commission, theirs is continuous registration, and so they now have offices even in the wards, in the country. They have offices in the 774 local governments. They have also what they call zonal coordinators, who are all very well versed in data. But there was need for a board to assess what all this mirage of people are doing. So that is already taken care of. And those people, sorry, Senator Ningi, let me finish with him.
Mr. President, I do appreciate all the issues that you have raised. No, but those, all the myriad of staff which we have mentioned, you know, they are staff of the commission. They are not involved with policy making.
No, they are involved with it is the board that will make policies, and then all those people are from their different states. For instance, if they come to your state, in your state they will have a coordinator who is handling the affairs there, and who is a very senior officer. They already have those structures in place, and it's been there all along. The only thing that was absent was this board. And so the board, because of the sensitivity of it, includes all the security agencies, and also they will now be in a position to give policy directions to whatever is happening. And then if you notice, the DG of the commission will only be a secretary of the board and take instructions which would dovetail. I've taken cognizance of everything. I've discussed with the Attorney General of the Federation, and I also found out that in fact, that all the observations you are making have been taken into cognizance. Those who support that clause 6 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support, let me finish that clause. That clause. Senator Garba, I will report it to your colleagues. So clause 8 to clause 35 retained. Those in support that 8 to 35 be retained say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause those who support that clause 39 be retained say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, very distinguished colleagues, Senate reverse to plenary to enable the chairman report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I second the motion the Senate reverse to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion moved and seconded that the chair reverse to plenary with the entire Senate to report progress. Those in support say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Identity Management Commission Establishment Bill 2026 and approved as follows. Clause 4 as recommended, Clause 8 as recommended, 35 to 38 as recommended, Clause 39 interpretation clause as recommended, short title new, schedule new, explanatory memorandum as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Accordingly, the Senate directs the clerk to reflect the amendments in the bill as passed. Leader of the Senate.
Your Excellency, may I approach the chair? Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of a bill by His Excellency distinguished Senator Simon Bako Lalong on the Electoral Act 2026 Amendment Bill 2026 SB 1035. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do suspend its Rule 78.1 in order to read the bill for a second time. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I second the motion moved by the Senate Leader. So second.
The Senate colleagues, those in support of the motion say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed. You may proceed, the Senate Leader, to present the lead debate.
Thank you very much. Senator Simon Lalong is available to do this.
Sorry, distinguished, I didn't see you. No, Oshimole says he's taller than you.
Yeah, he wears a double-decker canvas. Look for yourself. No, I'm talking about the shoe he's wearing. A double-decker, 3 layers.
Okay, so after the sitting, 2 of you will remove your shoes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And with the permission of most distinguished colleagues, I will just move into the lead debate. And this bill is on a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2026 to provide for cleared jurisdiction in pre-election matters and for related matters. This bill seeks to address one of the most persistent procedural and constitutional challenges in our electoral jurisprudence: the uncertainty, multiplicity, and inconsistency associated with the jurisdiction for the determination of pre-election matters. Distinguished colleagues, democracy thrives not merely on conduct of elections, but also on the credibility, the certainty, predictability of the legal process that precedes those elections. The legitimacy of candidates and the integrity of party primaries are foundational pillars of representative democracy. Where the legal framework regulating the pre-election dispute is uncertain or conflicting, the entire electoral architecture becomes vulnerable to confusion, forum shopping, contradictory judgments, and unnecessary delays. Mr. President, it is in recognition of these realities that this bill proposes targeted amendments to Section 29 of the Electoral Act and to introduce a new Section 29A to clearly delineate jurisdictional competence in pre-election matters. Distinguished colleagues, Section 285, subsection 14 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 99 as altered defines a pre-election matters to include disputes arising from party primaries, nomination of candidates, and compliance with electoral laws and guidelines. However, despite this constitutional recognition, our legal system has continued to witness conflicting interpretations regarding the appropriate court with jurisdiction to entertain such disputes. This uncertainty has resulted in conflicting decisions from courts of coordinate jurisdiction, abuse of judicial process through forum shopping, undue delay in the resolution of electoral disputes, and avoidable constitutional tensions between courts. The amendment before this distinguished chamber therefore seeks to bring clarity, order, and constitutional harmony
to the adjudication of pre-election matters. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Clause 2 of the bill amends Section 29, subsection 5 of the Principal Act to provide that an aspirant may institute an action either in the Federal Capital Territory or in jurisdiction where the cause of action arose. This amendment is both practical and equitable. It reduces hardship on litigants, improves access to justice, and aligns electoral adjudication with territorial realities surrounding political primaries and nomination processes. More fundamentally, Clause 3 introduced a new Section 29A, which is a substantive innovation of this bill. The proposed Section 29A establishes a clear jurisdictional framework as follows. 1. Pre-election matters relating to elections into the National Assembly, governorship and state houses of assembly shall originate at the Federal High Court with appeals lying to the Court of Appeal. And 2. Pre-election matters relating to the office of President and Vice President shall originate at the Court of Appeal exercising original jurisdiction with appeals lying to the Supreme Court. Mr. President, this proposal is not arbitrary. It is rooted firmly in constitutional logic, judicial efficiency, and the doctrine of hierarchy of courts. Distinguished colleagues, presidential elections are national in character and constitutional significance. Given the sensitivity and urgency associated with such offices, vesting original jurisdiction in the Court of Appeal ensures expeditious determination by a superior court of record with nationwide competence and institutional capacity. Similarly, assigning jurisdiction over other pre-election matters to the Federal High Court promotes specialization and consistency, especially given the federal nature of electoral administration through the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Mr. President, this bill also seeks to eliminate the dangerous practice where litigants deliberately institute multiple suits in different judicial divisions in search of favorable orders. Such practices erode public confidence in the judiciary and undermine electoral stability. By expressly providing that no court shall entertain pre-election matters, especially except in accordance with the proposed Section 29A. This amendment introduces certainty and procedural discipline into electoral adjudication. Distinguished colleagues, this bill is also consistent with the constitutional objective of speedy determination of electoral dispute. Electoral matters are sui generis and time-bound in nature. Delays in their resolution often create constitutional crises capable of destabilizing governance and democratic continuity. Indeed, the Supreme Court has repeatedly emphasized the necessity for certainty and urgency in electoral litigation. This bill therefore codifies a streamlined judicial pathway that will reduce delays and enhance judicial efficiency. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the amendment before us is not merely procedural, it is institutional. It strengthens electoral justice, deepens democratic accountability, and reinforces public confidence in our electoral process. It is a reform intended to promote uniformity in electoral adjudication, reduce conflicting judgments, discourage forum shopping, ensure timely resolution of disputes, and preserve the sanctity of democratic mandate. At a time when Nigeria continues to demand greater transparency and credibility in our electoral process, this National Assembly must continue to refine the legal architecture that sustains constitutional democracy. This bill, therefore, is timely, necessary, and in the national interest. I respectfully urge distinguished colleagues to support this bill and allow it to scale to the second round, to the second reading. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Mongudu.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. This amendment sought to be made is apt and germane, especially against the backdrop of our experiences in electoral matters litigation across the nooks and crannies of the country. What this amendment on mischief that it seeks to cure is because, as rightly observed by the sponsor of the bill, election petition matters or electoral matters are sui generis in nature. They are of a special nature. And because of that, conferring original jurisdiction in pre-election matters to the Court of Appeal and appeal to lie to the Supreme Court is also apt and germane in order to bring about expeditious disposal of election petition matters because they are sui generis in nature. Then the other amendment on mischief that this bill seeks to cure is to nip in the bud the ugly scenario of forum shopping, whereby litigants file election matters at their will in different jurisdictions in order to seek for favorable orders in their favor. This bill seeks to discourage that attitude that erodes public confidence in our judiciary, whereby litigants engage in forum shopping in order to secure favorable judgment in their favor. So this bill seeks to cure the mischief that we have earlier observed in election petition matters and pre-election matters in order to cure all this lacuna that this bill seeks to cure. Against this backdrop, I invite my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill without much ado and with the spirit of light. Thank you.
Samson.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ekong Samson. I speak for Akwa Ibom South. This bill throws up the debates as to the sanctity of our electoral process. The bill throws up a range of issues touching even on the judiciary, on the role of the judiciary in our democratic space in bare terms. I think as a player, nothing could be too small or too big for us to do as a people in examining the layers of participation, in looking at the purity of thoughts that will help to sanitize our electoral process and space. The bill throws up a range of issues, particularly the certainty of the electoral process. It has been well said that where the process is certain to some extent, then there's a clearer layer of participation. So much has been said about the dangers of forum shopping, where litigants explore a space that favors them to file suits that will favor them. This is dangerous to democracy. This is dangerous to our political space. So this bill throws up a range of conversations which we need to do to take up as a people. We need to invite layers of opinion that will make the space safer for participation. I've always held the view that a democracy that compromises the rights to participation is a danger to humanity. no debate can be too tedious for all to take in looking at a process where participation is fairer and where principally the will of the people is allowed to thrive. So I think the bill is expository. It throws up layers of opinion. It encourages a debate which we should take up so that the space can be fair. I see strong merits in this bill, and I encourage that it be subject to fuller inquiry by Nigerians. Let us talk. Let us look at gaps where any, so that ultimately we can have a process that is acceptable to our people, where the rights of the people are protected in respect of democratic participation. Thank you.
The same says Adams Oshimole.
God bless the President. My name is Adams Aliyu Eric Oshimole. I represent the people of Edo North in Edo State. Mr. President, with profound respect, I'd like to lend my support to this proposed amendment. I'm very clear it does not in any way violate the Constitution of Nigeria, and its objectives are also very clear and unambiguous. Namely, that we shouldn't spend too much time in the judicial process to resolve the issue of who is a valid candidate should there be dispute arising from primaries. Number two, that it is unfair, even as hard as the Supreme Court has tried to do to admonish lawyers and litigants not to approach courts of coordinate jurisdiction on a matter, yet both litigants and even worse, lawyers, including senior advocates, are continuing to indulge in this, even as the Supreme Court continues to denounce them. I think the essence of this intervention is to now make it unlawful for anyone to attempt to do so. The only thing I am not sure, having not gone through case by case, and even if I do, I'm not a lawyer, is that there should be penalties, because you don't waste the time of courts. But regardless of what we do here, somebody will approach the court, it will require the court to now interpret this section to dismiss any frivolous application. Maybe, sir, subject to the views of those who are learned and who understand how the judicial system works, that where anyone attempted to breach this law, it should attract huge penalty, so that the time of the judges that you wasted and the anxiety you created when you suffer huge financial hemorrhage as a result of this rascality, I believe many lawyers will abstain from taking cases to courts, knowing fully well that it will be a clear violation of this law. I want to thank you, sir, that under your leadership we are strengthening all the gaps that we can foresee in our electoral system, so that by under your leadership it will be said that the 10th Senate eliminated all the gaps that have created problems in pre-election matters, such that we had cases, sir, where decisions as to eligibility or who is the actual candidate that the election was not resolved until a week to the election, or even some cases after the election. So I think that, distinguished colleagues, this is something that is of public interest. It is something that is in our enlightened self-interest, and this is something that is in the interest of quick dispensation of justice. The other section which they have mentioned is not novel. That is to say, in the case of dispute on presidential candidature, primaries or presidential candidature, I think it is consistent with the fact that where there is a dispute about a presidential election, the first jurisdiction is the Court of Appeal. It doesn't start from a tribunal at the lower level. It goes to Court of Appeal and then finally the Supreme Court. I think this amendment again is intended and is comfortably aligned with that aspect of the law as it exists at the moment. Mr. President, I want to thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Distinguished Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I think this amendment is very apt and straightforward. And I'm not sure that there is anybody here who will be opposed to this amendment, because for those of us here, majority of us have experienced this duplication of judgments and court orders and the delay. And given that election matters, like they say, is sui generis and time-bound, I think the earlier that we clarify courts of competent jurisdiction to preside over disputes arising from the electoral process will be better for all of us. I know that we've just amended the Electoral Act, but the Electoral Act, like all such documents, are live documents and therefore subject to amendment, especially timely enough to affect what we are undertaking here. So, Mr. President, I think all of us should support the second reading of this amendment bill and, of course, carry it out expeditiously so that it doesn't impede the process that we are undertaking now in 2026-2027. So, Mr. President, I support the second reading of this bill because Nigerians need to contribute, Nigerians need to know what law is guiding them in the electoral process. I so support, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Is anybody who is opposed to this bill going for a second reading? Okay. Those who support that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Yes.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2026 to provide for the jurisdiction for pre-election matters and for related matters 2026 SB 1035, second reading.
Make sure that off your mic. Off your mic. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2026 to provide for a jurisdiction for pre-election matters and for later matters 2026 SB 1035, second reading taken. The bill is now committed to the Committee of the Whole for immediate consideration in view of the timing. Leader of the Senate.
I'm the leader now. Distinguished senators, Mr. President, I hereby move that the Senate do resolve into a committee of the whole to consider the report.
Mr. President, the second for this, I so second.
Yes. Distinguished colleagues, those in support that we resolve it to committee of the whole say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Along, approach the chair. Leader of the Senate, please. the chairman of the INEC, and we are considering INEC, so he's trying to rationalize and explain. No problem. Committee on Electoral Matters, a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2026 to provide for a jurisdiction for pre-election matters and for related matters, SB 1035. Electoral Act 2026 Amendment Bill 2026, Clause 1. Those who support that Clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. Those who support that Clause 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Those who support that Clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Interpretation Clause D. Short title in Clause 4. Those who support that this stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedules nil. Explanation memorandum nil. Long title. Those who support that the long title should stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I hereby move that the Senate be referred back to plenary to report progress.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I second the motion that the Senate refers to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those who support that the Senate refers to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the reports of the Committee on Electoral Matters on the Electoral Act 2026 Amendment Bill 2026 and approve as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 3 as recommended. Interpretation Clause nil. Short title Clause 4 as recommended. Schedule nil. Explanatory memorandum nil. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader, you may wish to move for a third reading.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I hereby move that the bill be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I support a motion that the bill be read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those in support that this bill be now read the third time say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2026 to provide for the jurisdiction for pre-election matters and for related matters 2026 SB 10235. Third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2026 to provide for the jurisdiction for pre-election matters and for Related Matters 2026, third reading taken and passed. So I thank all my colleagues. I thank the chairman of the Senate Committee on INEC, the Senior Senator Lavang, for the good work that they have done, and thank all for their contributions, and hope that this bill, now passed, will receive expeditious assent by Mr. President in order to deepen electoral transparency and functionality, and ensure that all future elections in Nigeria are well carried out. Thank you all. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished senators. The next order of the day is two bills for concurrence from the House of Representatives. And the bills are a bill to amend the Federal Polytechnics Act 2026, House Bill 2114, and then the bill for an amendment to the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria Bill 2026, House Bill 984, be read the second time. I so move. I'm the mover. I'm standing in for the Senate leader.
Where is the bill? Distinguished Senator Mangolo, proceed with the lead debate.
Okay. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on these important bills from the House of Representatives for the concurrence of the Senate. One is the Federal Polytechnics Act Amendment Bill 2026, House Bill 2114. This bill seeks to amend the Federal Polytechnics Act CAF F17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to, among other things, review the functions of the polytechnics. Then the other bill, the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2026, House Bill 984. This bill seeks to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and to promote the practice of public management leadership in Nigeria and for related matters. What this bill essentially seeks to do is to stamp out quackery in the practice of public management and also institute discipline by way of making regulations so that it can not only bark but bite where there is violation of laws establishing the practice of public management in Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, these bills are from the House of Representatives, and in the spirit of reciprocity of the two chambers, I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill. I therefore urge all you all to support the second reading of this bill as we refer to them to the Committee of the Whole for clause-by-clause consideration. Thank you.
Well, so, is there anybody that is opposed to these bills? Okay, yes. Senator Garba.
We have distinguished Senate President and my colleagues. My name is Garba Musa Maidoki. Distinguished Senate President, I have my bill and other people's bill in the House of Reps for the past 4 months. They have not been concurred with. So if The spirit of reciprocity is not exercised here. Why would we do so for them? Okay. Yeah, I'll be don't worry. So, sir, we need to address that issue holistically so that we will have synergy with the House of Reps. We've been passing every bill they've approved, but we don't know what is happening to our own bills that have been sent to them. 4 months, my bill has been laying there, sir. Thank you, Senator President.
Noted. Distinguished, those in support that this bill should now proceed. No, let members make contributions. Is there anybody that has something to contribute? Okay, go ahead.
Your Excellency, I quite Mr. Issa Jibrin, Kogi East. Your Excellency, I quite appreciate the concern of my colleague, but like it is always said, 2 wrongs can never make a right. I have a similar problem. Let's go ahead and consider these bills, but we have to discuss with the Speaker to expedite action on our bills that are lying down there. Mine has been there for more than 5 months. That is my submission. But we should go ahead and consider this. But we should inform them that we should speed up the processing of our bills that are lying down there.
Clerk of the Senate, please note the concerns of our colleagues and get in touch with the Right Honorable Speaker. Any other thing?
Just to support what Ochocho was saying, because instead of us keeping this bill, it will look like if there's a rift between us and the House of Rep. When there's no rift, let us go ahead and pass it and return it back to them with a note that they must do our own. Do me, I do you. God no go vex.
No problem. As an elder statesman, we allow any language you bring. Thank you.
Nobody's against it, then we can have the clerk of the Senate.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support that the clerk of the Senate should be invited to read these bills for the second time, say aye. Aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Protectionist Act (CAPT) F17 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to, among other things, review the functions of the protectors and for related matters 2026 HB 2114, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and to promote the practice of public management in Nigeria and for related matters 2026 HB 984, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Polytechnics Act (CAP F17) laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to, among other things, review the functions of the polytechnics and for related matters 2026 HB 2114, second reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and to promote the practice of public management in Nigeria and for related matters 2026 HB 984, second reading taken. So, Leader of the Senate. These bills are now committed to the Committee of the Whole for immediate consideration.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I hereby move that this bill be committed to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate resolves into the Committee of the Whole to further consider the bill. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate be resolved in the Committee of the Whole to consider the two bills. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we revert to Committee of the Whole. Distinguished colleagues, Federal Polytechnics Act Bill 2026, AB 2114. Number of clauses 1 to 14. Those who support that 1 to 4 stand part of the bill on page 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that short title clause 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that a long title should stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 1, 2, 3, 4. Those who support that clauses 1 to 4 be retained say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria Bill 2026 HB 984. Those who support that clauses 1 to 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who support that clauses 6 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who support that clauses 11 to 15 stand part of the bill say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who support that clauses 16 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Interpretation clause 21. Those who support that this should stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 22, which is on page 11. Those who support that this should stand part of the bill say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum. Those who support that this stands part of the bill say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I hereby move that the Senate do revert to plenary to report progress.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I second the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion moved and seconded that we revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, anytime. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Federal Polytechnics Act Amendment Bill 2026 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 4 as recommended. Interpretation clause nil. Short title clause 5 as recommended. Schedule nil. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate further in the Committee of the Whole considered the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria Bill 2026 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 20 as recommended. Interpretation clause 21 as recommended. Short title clause 22 as recommended. Schedules nil as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes. Look at the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I hereby move that these two bills be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I second the motion moved by the Leader of the Senate that these bills be read a third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion moved and seconded that these bills be now read the third time. Those in support that these two bills be now read the third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Polytechnics Act Cap F17 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to among other things review the functions of the Polytechnics and for related matters 2026 HB 211 third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and to promote the practice of public management of Nigeria for related matters 2026 HB 984 third reading.
So, Senator Ndume, we wish to approach the chair. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Polytechnics Act Cap F17 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to among other things review the functions of the polytechnics and for related matters 2026 third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and to promote the practice of public management in Nigeria and for related matters 2026 HB 984 third reading taken and passed. So I must thank all my distinguished colleagues for their contributions and thank the House of Representatives for bringing these two bills for concurrence and hope that this will continue to assist us in the administration of Nigeria and other agencies for effective use and for the benefit of mankind. I thank you all for your contributions. I will talk to the Speaker. Leader of the Senate. Come on.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Primary on the Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2026. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Her Excellency Senator Banigo Ipalibo Hari, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
This is Senator Abanigo. Can the camera catch you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They can.
They can. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So go ahead.
Our very distinguished Senate Presidents, my distinguished colleagues, I am Ipaliwo Banigo, representing the good people of Rivers West Senatorial District. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary, on the Federal Medical Centers Act, Amendment Bill 2026. I so move, sir. They should do the man, they can't do the work. Yeah.
We'll proceed to lay the report. Has there been any seconder? Senator Ndube.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Mohamed Ali Lume. I rise to second the bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Center Act 2002 to provide for the establishment of additional federal medical centers and for related matters 2026. SB 853-866, 908, 932, 949, 960, and 1011 consolidated. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion move and seconded. Those in support that the report be laid before us say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman Health, proceed to lay your report. You have ready anything to any addendum, or you want to summarize the report?
I'll summarize it, sir. Thank you, Your Excellency. The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at its sitting on Tuesday, 2nd of December, 2025, read for the second time the bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Center Act 2022 to provide for the establishment of additional federal medical centers and related matters. The list of the additional federal medical centers are Federal Medical Center, Kwaya Kusa, Wally State, sponsored by Senate. Sponsored by Senator Siako Yalu Antoni, Gombe South. Federal Medical Center, Mbake Isheke, Ebonyi State, sponsored by Senator Wimboyi Oyeka Peter, Ebonyi North. Federal Medical Center, Dekina, Kogi State, sponsored by Senator. This one keeps going off, sorry. Federal Medical Center, Rigasa, Kaduna State, sponsored by Senator Usman Lawal Adamu, Kaduna State. Federal Medical Center, Gazari, Jigawa State, sponsored by Senator Hussein Babangida Uba, Jigawa Northwest. And Federal Medical Center, Onairo, Oyo State, sponsored by Senator Yunus Abiodun Akintude, Oyo Central. This goes to show the quite great spread of these very needed FMCs. And in carrying out the assignment, the committee relied on the previous consolidated FMC reports considered by this hallowed chamber and came up with the recommendations contained in this report. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, Nigeria's population is estimated at over 250 million, making it one of the densely populated countries in the world. And there is an exceedingly high burden of diseases. Your Excellency and distinguished colleagues, the establishment of the FMCs in the aforementioned areas are informed by the need to bridge the existing gap between primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare delivery in Nigeria. The federal medical centers are envisioned as multidisciplinary space for treatment, research, harnessing science, and developing innovative means of tackling the numerous health challenges bedeviling the nation. This bill, therefore, seeks to balance the existing gap in accessibility to medical facilities through the establishment of these additional federal medical centers and to address, of course, our healthcare challenges. This will bring healthcare closer to residents of these densely populated urban and rural communities and by implication extend the lifespan of our peoples. The hospitals will also serve the people of neighboring states and Nigeria as a whole. The committee also observed that some existing federal medical centers have been upgraded to federal teaching hospitals to be affiliated to existing university teaching hospitals, thereby justifying the establishment of a federal medical center to fill the gap in healthcare delivery and services. This bill, therefore, Your Excellency, our Senate President and distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to amend the second schedule to the Principal Act by establishing additional federal medical centers across various states in Nigeria. We therefore recommend that after having done a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, that this amended bill be approved as recommended. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the committee greatly appreciates the President of the Senate, the Deputy President of the Senate, the entire Senate leadership, and all our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity given to us to serve in this capacity. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I so submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? No comments. Senate Leader, you may wish to move that we resolve into committee of the whole to consider the bills.
Thank you, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. I move that the Senate resolve to a committee of the whole for further consideration of this report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I support the motion that the Senate resolves into the committee of the whole to further consider the report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion I will move and second. Those in support that will move we resolve in the committee of the whole to further consider the report. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Senator Karimi, Senator Salih Mustapha.
Distinguished Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2026 LB 853, 866, 909, 932, 949, 960, and 1017, all consolidated. Number of clauses 1 to 2. Those who support that this time part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title clause 3. Those who support that this short title stand part of the bill say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum on page 2. Those who support that this stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Mr. President. Long title on page 1. Those who support that it should stand part of the bill say aye. Correction. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Correction?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. President, I remind you representing Oyo Central. I've been raising up my mind when we got to make correction that number 28, Federal Medical Center, Onari, Oyo State should be Federal Medical Center, Onara. It should be ARA, not ARA.
Even as you are pronouncing, it's very heavy amount. Anyway, the clerk noted.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Same thing with Kwaya Kusar. They put R is missing, the last. Clerk.
Please write the correct thing and give to the clerk.
Okay. Kwaya Kusar is just R that is missing.
No, but write and give so you don't make a mistake. Thank you. Yes.
Medical Center Mbeke is written Federal Medical Center Mbaka. So the correct spelling is MBEKE.
So they have given it to Mbaka now?
It's Mbeke, sir.
Anyway, so write and give to him.
Is that right, sir?
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, may I request Mr. President to revert back to plenary for progress report.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I support the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary to enable the chair do progress report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion moved and seconded that we revert to plenary to report progress. Those who support say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2026 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 2 as recommended. Interpretation clause nil. Short title on clause 3 as recommended. Schedules nil. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I stand to move a motion that the Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2026 be now read the third time.
Minority Leader. So, Senator Ningi.
Mr. President, acting on behalf of the minority leader, I beg to second the motion heavily moved by the Senate leader.
In fact, just saying that, I just noticed that Senator Ositangu, because the leader of the Senate and Deputy Senate President, you people have emptied the minorities. So even the APC has no place to sit. So please, yeah? And you cannot also sit on somebody's laps. So, clerk, please find a space somewhere there to put a chair before we come back for him to go back there, so that there will not think that we still have minorities remaining. Since isn't there? Yes. Those who support that the views in the third time say aye, and those again say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Kwaya, Kusa, Borno State, and for related matters 2026, SB 853, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Center Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, TUSE, Gombe State, and for related matters 2026, SB 866, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Polytechnic Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Centers, Mbeke, Isheke, Ebonyi State, and for related matters 2026, SB 909, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Dekina, Kogi State, and for related matters 2026, SB 932, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Centers, Regasa, Kaduna State, and for related matters 2026, SB 949, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Centers, the Kazare, Jigawa State, and for related matters 2026, SB 960, third reading. When we read this one, we open the next page, there are 6.
There are 7 now.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Centers, Oyo State, and Oyo State for the related matters 2026, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Kwaya, Kusa, in Borno State, and for related matters 2026, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Tawase, Gombe State, and for related matters 2026, SB 866, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Mbeke Sheke, in Ebonyi State, for related matters 2026, SB 909, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Dekina, in Kogi State, and for related matters 2026, SB 932, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Rikasa, Kaduna State, and for related matters 2026, SB 949, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Gazawe, Jigawa State, and for related matters 2026, SB 960, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Onare, Oyo State, and for related matters 2026, third reading taken and passed. Let me very quickly commend the chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary Education, Senator Banigo, and all members of the committee for the rigorous job that they have done in concluding these bills, and commend our colleagues for presenting the plight of their communities to the 10th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and further congratulate the beneficiaries and the various communities for these medical centers, and hope that when ascended to by Mr. President, we will meet the health needs of Nigerians and will bring health closer to the doorstep of all Nigerians, because health is wealth. I thank you all for your contributions, and I pray that Nigeria shall remain healthy, and that the beneficiaries of these health centers shall continually pray for the federal government of Nigeria to remain strong, vibrant, and progressive. In the name of God, thank you all. You have finished? Leader of the Senate, please, next item. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Federal Capital Territory on the 2026 Federal Capital Territory Appropriation Bill 2026, SB 1020. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 11th March 2026. Mr. President, you may wish to invite, in the absence of Senator Boma Ibrahim, the chairman of the committee, his vice chairman, most distinguished Senator Akabundu, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Yes, distinguished Senator who? Distinguished Senator Akabundu. He is the vice chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. My name is Austin Akobundu. I represent the good people of Abia Central Senatorial District. I am standing in for the chairman of this committee in my capacity as the vice chairman. I rise to move a motion for the Senate to receive the harmonized reports of the Senate and House Representatives Committees on Federal Capital Territory FCT on the 2026 FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill, SB 1020, for consideration. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Jibikuta.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chairman, FCT Area Councils.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleague, my name is David Esu Jimkuta, representing the good people of Taraba South, the headquarters of Korofa Kingdom. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my colleague, the Deputy Chairman of FCT Area Council, that the report of the budget to be accepted. Thank you, Mr. President.
Colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who support that the Senate do receive the FCT 2026 appropriation bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The same Senator Akobundu, you may wish to present immediately. Yes, you may wish, it's a harmonized report, right? Yes, okay, so you can give us the meat.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am still Austin Akobundu, Abia Central. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may recall that in line with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, the 2026 FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 11th March 2026. The Senate conducted debate on the bill for second reading on Wednesday, 11 March 2026, and the bill was referred to the Committee on Federal Capital Territory and FCT area councils and ancillary matters for further legislative action. In accordance with with Section 62, 80, 88, 89 and 299 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, the Senate and House committees on FCT met with the Honorable Minister and other relevant officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration and deliberated on the subject matter and agreed on the modalities to handle the exercise. Recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in view of the aforementioned, the committees have recommended the sums of 2,285 billion, 98,676,153 naira only as FCT statutory budget for 2026. From the projected revenue of 2,285 billion, 98,676,153 naira only, of which the sum of 165 billion 775,220,839 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 378 billion 231,411,697 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 1,741,043,617 naira only is for capital projects for the services of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year commencing from January 1st and ending on 31st December 2026. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the structure of expenditure for 2026 statutory appropriation bill is as recommended. Personnel costs 165 billion 775 million 220,839 kobo, representing 7.25%. Overhead costs 378 billion 231 million 411,697 kobo, representing 16.55%. Total recurrent expenditure 544 billion 6,632,536 kobo, representing 23.8%. Capital expenditure 1,741 billion 92,043,617 kobo, representing 76.19%. Total expenditure, 2,285,098,676,153 kobo, representing 100%. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in considering this budget, time is of essence, and as the two committees, Senate and House of Representative committees on FCT have worked harmoniously to present one version of the report for consideration by both chambers. On behalf of the committees, I hereby present the recommendations for consideration and passage into law. I so present. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Senator Abdul Mingi, and I represent Bauchi Central of Bauchi State. Mr. President, this is a well-packaged, well-balanced budget, considering or recalling the observations made by the Senate Committee on FCT last year. Most of the concerns last year was on the issue of security, whereby 10 billion naira was allocated to FCT security, and members of the Senate then had concern about the internal security of the FCT. Delightfully, this budget presents a forward-looking scenario of 112 billion 500 million. That speaks about the intention of the wicked administration in providing and in protecting the FCT as a territory and the people living in FCT. So this is a very welcome development, and I'm sure going forward we should continue on this trajectory. Security is the number one priority, and here the FCT budget has provided that. I so support the passage of this budget, Mr. President.
Senator Jimmy Kuta.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleague. Once again, my name is David Yesu Jimkuta, representing the good people of Taraba South, the headquarters of Kororofa Kingdom. Mr. President, this budget is a budget of hope, is a budget of impact to the people of FCT and by extension Nigeria at large. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, if you can see through the table here, the capital expenditure of this budget is 76%. Recurrent expenditure and personnel cost is just 23. That is to tell you this budget is for impact to complete all the project ongoing. And I want to assure this House, by the time this budget is passed as recommended, this Senate will be invited for commissioning of project for more than 30 working days. So I'm pleading with the House, with the Senate, to pass this bill as recommended. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is the Deputy Senate President?
Mr. President, I'm compelled to seek your permission to say my comment on this appropriation. Mr. President, always say that a golden fish has no hiding place. When there's a golden fish in water, no matter how you pretend that you are not seeing it, you must see it. So this budget, Mr. President, is top-notch. This is top-notch. Mr. President, You know, I am the only one in the history of legislature in this country to have been opportune to serve as chairman of the Official Committee in the House of Reps and also in the Senate of the Federal Government of Nigeria. So I'm an authority.
Come again, serve as?
I said I am opportuned to be the only legislator in the history of legislature in this country.
Yes.
So far. So I've been opportune to serve as chairman of Official Committee in the House of Reps.
In the House.
Official Committee.
You were the chairman?
Yes, I've been in the House as chairman.
And in the 9th Assembly in the Senate, you were also the chairman?
Yes.
My God.
Mr. President, Mr. President, not only that, I was also opportuned to have been nominated or appointed by President Olusegun Obasanjo to be a member of the committee setup to rearrange the budget process of this country. So I'm an authority when it comes to the process of budgeting. So when I see a good budget, if I see a good budget, I know it's a good budget. If I see a budget that's top notch, so Mr. President, this is a top notch budget. We have to, I'm compelled to commend the FCT minister for doing a very, very good job. A budget that is, you can see it as said by my colleague over there, a budget that you have total is 2.2 trillion. And out of this, 1.7 is going for capital, side of the budget. That is for infrastructure, for development, for capital development. Then you know that a good budget has been crafted. So, and the minister has to be commended. It shows his willingness, his determination to continue to build FCT to the admiration of all. As I always say, FCT is one of our symbols of our sovereignty. It is the face, one of the faces of our nation. Okay. Point of order.
Point of order.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, pursuant to Order 8(3) of our rules, I'm rising to move for extension of time to enable us conclude on the proceedings as listed on the order paper today, so that we'll be able to see beyond 3 p.m. I so move, and I apologize for disrupting the top-notch presentation of the Deputy Senate President.
Even your motion is top-notch. The minority leader.
Distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate extends the time to sit beyond 3 o'clock to enable the Senate to conclude on items on the order paper. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, motion moved and seconded that we sit beyond 3 p.m. to enable us conclude all the items on the order paper. Those in support say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. We have distinguished
Mr. President, I think the best thing to do is to urge the FCT minister not to waver. Let it continue on this route he has taken to transform FCT. And we are seeing that, before you always, when you walk around Abuja, you walk in darkness. You always dark, no street light, no nothing. The roads are being constructed, the bridges are being constructed, and so on and so forth. So he's doing a wonderful job. And we urge you to continue so that Abuja will be one of the best cities in the world. So that, because I remember some years back, I had a visitor, and he told me, look, you have a beautiful city. But the problem is that it is always dark in the night and is not well kept. You find, trash everywhere. But you don't see that in the streets of Abuja. It's really doing well. So we urge him to continue so that we can continue to be proud of our capital city, the FCT. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, Senator Abamoro, before you, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. If there is a bill that requires expeditious passage, I think it is this bill. Looking at the meticulous handling of both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, even when you get down to the sectoral allocation, Mr. President, you will agree with me and the single colleagues that this is the type of budget for the Federal Capital Territory. And if you go beyond that, Mr. President, everybody acknowledges that if you go around Abuja now, we see a lot of things happening. Road construction, lightening of the place, and the rest of them. And setting out positions to contain crimes and criminality within the FCT. And so, to my mind, we should pass this budget expeditiously to encourage the young man who is handling affairs in the FCT now, who incidentally is the export of PDP to APC, and encourage him to do more for the people of Nigeria. As I always say, developments don't wear colors. Developments don't have party affiliations. Development is development. And the people who enjoy developments from this type of organization are always happy for it. So let's make Nigeria happy, at least from this center of Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. President.
But you must commend the National Assembly made up of we must commend the National Assembly made up principally of APC members for always supporting this minister, in spite of the fact that he seems to have your DNA. Senator Bill.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, and I represent Lagos East. I also rise to lend my voice, particularly to the DSP's top-notch presentation regarding this particular budget. It remains a top-notch budget. And in alluding to that, I'd like also to underscore, just like my colleagues have said, that the structure of the budget too is actually very and highly top-notch in terms of the portion of capital expenditure that is almost 76% of the entire budget is highly commendable in truth. Now, if you also go to page 15 of the report as well, you also see the breakdown of the sectoral allocation. And you can see that we have a very good distribution across almost all areas of development that you can think of, whether it is security, the engineering services, education, and satellite towns provision. I think they are highly commendable, all of the allocations that have been made, which of course will also engender further development of the Federal Capital Territory. So we commend and the structure of this budget, and I also fully support. But in closing, I would just like to add that as we approve this budget, we should still demand from the committee, or by extension from the FCT, that subsequent to this, they should still present to this to the committee the revenue sources, just for the record, that will fund, that should accompany this budget. So I support it, but I think that it's important that the basis of the revenue sources too should be made available to us. Thank you very much, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues. Thank you.
Noted. Distinguished Senator Mangunu.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the point I want to raise has been adequately raised by distinguished Senator Abiru. I am not averse to the passage of this budget. We should pass it only with a proviso to the effect that next time when such a top-notch budget is being presented, it should be accompanied with the revenue profile of the FCT to make it more transparent and accountable to Nigerians. That is my observation. Thank you.
This is Senator Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East. Just as the Deputy Senate President have seen the presentation to be top-notch, I will do the same thing. I also looked through the presentation, is really top-notch. But as Senator Abiru and Senator Mangunu have said, top-notch presentation of the budget without revenue profile is an incomplete document. So it is necessary that the revenue profile should accompany the expenditure so that we know where the source of funding is coming from. I think with what Senator Mangunu have said, it will be necessary for the revenue profile to be attached so that after we have passed this in, nobody will come to ask where the money is going to come from. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I believe that whether or not we pass it, we should still demand for the revenue profile. So I will urge the two committees to still furnish us with those things even after the passage, at least for our records. Senator Webby, you want to add or do we move ahead? Thank you. Is there anybody that is opposed to this budget being passed? Those who support that this will proceed here from to the Committee of Supply say aye. Those against say nay. That is so, Leader of the Senate, you may wish to move that the Senate resolve into the Committee of Supply to continue the consideration of this budget.
Thank you, Mr. Uncommon President of the Senate. I so move.
Yes.